Every year, thousands of people go missing in forests and wilderness areas around the world. Most of the time, authorities explain it with simple answers. People get lost, injured, disoriented, or fall victim to the elements. But not all cases fit that explanation. Some disappearances leave no tracks, no signs of panic, no evidence of injury. Experienced hikers vanish from familiar trails. Children walk miles without shoes. Personal belongings are found neatly placed, as if the person simply decided to stop existing right there. And then there are the stories search teams rarely talk about publicly. Stories where people report hearing their name being called deep in the woods, when no one else is around. Stories where the voice sounds like someone they trust, a friend, a family member, even themselves. Stories where the voice doesn't sound lost, it sounds certain. Search and rescue volunteers, park rangers, and survivors from different countries all describe the same disturbing patterns. People calmly walking off established trails. Footprints that end abruptly. And voices heard during searches that lead rescuers away, not toward the missing. In many of these cases, the missing are never found. And the few who do come back often say the same thing. They weren't chased. They weren't threatened. They were called. Tonight's stories are based on real disappearance reports, first-hand accounts, and documented search and rescue testimony. Names and details have been adjusted where necessary, but the events themselves are real. These are not campfire legends. These are not urban myths. These are true stories of people who went hiking alone. Heard something calling to them from the forest. And were never the same again. He heard his name where no one should be. The man was an experienced hiker. Late 30s. Former military. The kind of person who didn't panic easily and didn't believe in ghost stories. He chose a well-marked forest trail for a solo weekend hike. Nothing extreme. No cliffs, no off-trail bushwhacking. Just trees, distance, and quiet. About 2 hours in, he heard someone say his name. Not loud. Not urgent. Just calm. Familiar. At first, he assumed another hiker had recognized him from the trailhead. He turned around. No one was there. The forest was still. No footsteps. No snapped branches. No movement. He shrugged it off and kept walking. 10 minutes later, it happened again, this time closer. Same voice. Same tone. Same pronunciation, the way only people who know you well say your name. He called out, "Hello." The response came immediately. "Come this way." That's when he stopped walking. Later, investigators would find his phone. In the last audio recording, accidentally triggered while in his pocket, you can hear him breathing faster. Then the voice again, clearer now, repeating his name. He whispered back, almost confused. "How do you know me?" There was no answer after that. Search teams found his backpack neatly leaned against a tree. No torn straps. No signs of struggle. His footprints followed the trail, then veered gently off into dense woods. They followed them for half a mile. The footprints simply ended. No fallen leaves disturbed beyond that point. No indication he turned back. No body was ever recovered. Several searchers later reported something unsettling. During night searches, they heard someone calling their names, each in a voice they recognized personally. The search was called off early. The voice that sounded like help. A college student decided to hike alone during early autumn. The forest was popular, but midweek, quiet. She documented the hike on social media. Photos. Short videos. Smiling. Peaceful. About 3 miles in, she heard crying. A woman's voice, somewhere off the trail, sobbing softly. She hesitated. The crying sounded real. Desperate. Weak. She yelled, "Are you okay?" The crying stopped. Then came a reply. "Please. I can't move." Her instincts screamed at her to stay on the trail. Every safety rule she'd ever learned said don't leave marked paths. But the voice sounded scared. Human. Close. She stepped off the trail. Her last video was recorded accidentally. The camera pointed at the ground. Leaves crunching underfoot. Her breathing uneven. Then the crying changed. It became, "Wrong." The voice began repeating her words back to her. Same tone. Same cadence. She stopped walking. In the recording, she says quietly, "That's not funny." Silence. Then her own voice says her name. Search crews later found her phone and one shoe about 200 yards off the trail. No blood. No signs of attack. Just one strange detail, multiple overlapping footprints around the shoe, none matching her stride, circling it in the dirt. She was never found. The man who followed his brother. Two brothers grew up hiking together. One of them went missing years earlier in a forest accident. His body was never recovered. Years later, the surviving brother returned to that same forest, alone. He told friends he needed closure. Halfway through the hike, he heard someone walking beside him. He didn't panic at first. He assumed another hiker was matching his pace. Then the voice spoke. It was his brother. Same laugh. Same jokes. Same nickname no one else used. The voice never asked for help. Never sounded threatening. It just talked. At one point, the man stopped walking and said, "I know you're not real." The voice replied gently. "Then why can you hear me?" His journal was later found near a stream. The final entry read, "It knows things only he knew. It wants me to follow it. It says it's been waiting." His body was discovered weeks later. Miles from the trail, in a location search teams had already checked twice. There were no injuries. The official cause of death was exposure. But the coroner noted something odd, the soles of his feet were clean, as if he hadn't walked there himself. The trail that answered back. The man had been hiking alone for years. He preferred it that way. No talking, no distractions, just boots on dirt and the sound of wind through trees. This trail was supposed to be easy. A loop. Clearly marked. Popular enough that he wasn't worried about getting lost, but remote enough to feel isolated. About an hour in, he stopped to drink water and realized something felt off. The forest was too quiet. No birds. No insects. Not even wind. Then he heard footsteps. Not behind him, to his left, pacing him just off the trail. He assumed someone was hiking parallel, maybe trying to pass. He called out, "Hey, trail's over here." The footsteps stopped. Then a voice replied from the trees. "I know." The voice sounded normal. Calm. Male. Roughly his age. He laughed nervously and kept walking. A few minutes later, the voice spoke again, this time closer. "You're walking in circles." He stopped. The trail sign ahead of him was one he remembered passing earlier, but that shouldn't have been possible. He pulled out his GPS. No signal. Then the voice said his full name. He never told anyone his last name. The last known photo on his phone shows the trail disappearing into fog that wasn't there earlier that day. Searchers later found his pack neatly placed on a log, zipper closed. One rescuer reported hearing someone whisper, "He's already figured it out." The trail was closed permanently the next year after 3 more disappearances within a mile of that spot. The woman who answered herself. She was training for a long-distance hike and decided to do a solo overnight in a state forest she knew well. That evening, while setting up camp, she heard someone call out. "Hello." She stood up immediately. No one was visible. She answered, "Yeah." The response came instantly. "Yeah." Her own voice. Same tone. Same slight rasp. She froze. She laughed it off, nerves, echoes, imagination, and went back to setting up her tent. Then she heard it again. "Stop doing that." She hadn't said anything. She grabbed her headlamp and scanned the trees. Nothing. Later that night, she woke up to footsteps circling her tent. Slow. Careful. Like whoever it was didn't want to be heard. She stayed silent. Then her own voice whispered. "I know you're awake." She didn't scream. She didn't move. She stayed perfectly still until sunrise. When she finally unzipped the tent, there were bare footprints surrounding it. Not hers. Too large. They stopped at the zipper. She left immediately and never returned. Years later, she admitted something she never told authorities. "When I was packing up, I found a second headlamp clipped to my bag. It wasn't mine." He followed the whistling. A retired park ranger went missing during a short solo hike. He knew the forest better than anyone. When he didn't return, other rangers searched immediately. They found his radio first. It had recorded several accidental transmissions. At first, it was just static and breathing. Then whistling. A simple tune. One rangers recognized it immediately. It was something the missing man used to whistle during long patrols. Then came his voice. "I see you." A second voice followed, quiet, layered beneath the first. "We see you." The recording ended there. Search teams later reported hearing the same whistling at night. When they tried to locate it, it always seemed to move ahead of them, never behind. His body was never found. His badge was discovered hanging from a tree branch, placed carefully at eye level. The call that didn't want help. A woman hiking alone heard a child crying somewhere downhill from the trail. She immediately called out, asking if someone was hurt. The crying stopped. Then a child's voice replied. "Why did you stop walking?" Her stomach dropped. She backed away slowly. The voice followed her, never getting closer, never farther, always matching her pace. It repeated questions. "Why are you scared? Aren't you alone? Don't you want to see me?" She ran. She made it back to the trailhead just before dark. When authorities reviewed her fitness tracker, it showed her heart rate spiked, but her pace never changed. She hadn't run. She had walked calmly the entire time.